Okay, welcome to the June 14th, 2022 Municipal Planning Commission meeting. The Municipal Planning Commission is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is now open for public attendance in person. However, members may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. As per Wheatland County Policy 7.13, members of the public are not permitted to speak unless the commission agrees to hear from them. If the commission agrees to allow the public to speak, the chair will call upon specific individuals at that time. Please note this call is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website and or social media. For any individuals using the conference call line, we ask that you mute your phone to eliminate background noise. Everyone has a right to be present at a Municipal Planning Commission meeting. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair as per Municipal Government Act, Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. I'll take a roll call vote now. Commissioner Reichert is here. Commissioner Link.
Good morning.
Commissioner Clausen.
I'm here.
Commissioner Laursen.
Here.
Commissioner Laprise.
Here.
Commissioner Kester.
Here.
Commissioner Bigger.
Here.
Here. There are 7 of us here. Let's get this show on the road. We have a copy of the agenda in front of us. Any additions?
There is none from administration.
Commission's wishes? Or can somebody please move the agenda for me?
Also move.
Thank you, Commissioner Bigger. I will vote by exception. So is anybody opposed? Hearing none, that is passed. We have a copy of the unapproved minutes of May 10th, 2022.
I'll move the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Laprise. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, they are passed. We'll go on to development permits. We'll start 2.1, which is DP 2022-090.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County. I'll be presenting all 3 of the development permits this morning. So the application is 2022-090, and it is for a variance for an existing shed. The location plan is found on page 14 of the application package, and as you can see, it's about 2.41 kilometers north of Highway 1, west of Strathmore. On the same page, we have the circulation map. It was circulated to landowners within 1 mile of the application. We did not receive any responses. We had no concerns from internal staff, and an agency circulation was not performed. On page 15, we have the RPR that was submitted and an aerial photo. Excuse me. A letter of compliance was requested, and the review identified 4 accessory buildings and 1 farm building which did not have permits. One of the accessory buildings does not meet the required setback from the right-of-way of a road. The shed is located 14.26 meters, and the setback should be 22.86 meters. So there is the options, which are the shed could be removed, moved, or a variance could be applied for, and the applicant has chosen to request this variance. On pages 15 or pages 16, there's just a few photos of some of the buildings on site. Some considerations: the proposal does meet the criteria listed in the LUB regarding variances, as it should not have an impact on surrounding landowners. There were no objections from the peer review, and no concerns were raised from the circulation to surrounding landowners. Recommendation is found on page 10 of the agenda package. and that is, staff is recommending approval of the variance in addition to approving all the other 4 existing buildings. And the standard 3 options are found on page 12. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Commission's wishes.
I'll make the motion that Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2022-90 for 5 existing buildings with 1 requiring a variance subject to the conditions presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Clausen. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Is anyone...
Just a question.
Yes, go ahead, Glenn.
Are these 5 existing buildings that meet the setbacks, are they, what's the term you use? They were built before they needed development permits. Now, in our day and age, that we need a development permit. So do they need a development permit to be legal, or can they be called legally non-conforming? I'm just thinking 5 permits and then the cost of that, is it really necessary?
Through the chair, so there was a compliance review done, and the compliance review identified that they did require development permits, that they were not considered legal non-conforming, which means, you know, they were grandfathered basically. So, but we do allow an applicant to apply for multiple accessory structures, and they only pay the 1 fee. We do charge double fee when they've been built without a permit, but they only had to pay the 1 fee, which would be $150 instead of 150 times 5.
Okay, I'm better with that.
Good question, Glenn. I'll call the vote. Is anybody opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, deem that passed. We move on to DP 2022-107.
This application is a variance request for existing buildings. There was a garage, a greenhouse, and a shed, but since this application was made, the greenhouse has been removed. So the location plan is on page 22 of the application. It's within the hamlet of Gleason. We circulated to adjacent landowners +1. On page 23, we have the RPR that had been submitted showing the garage and the shed that remain, with the greenhouse having been removed. We did the circulation to adjacent landowners +1. We had 1 response in support, and that is the neighbor that is directly adjacent to the south. And we did have 1 response from internal staff from fire services, said that they do not support the variance. It is recommended that the shed be relocated and the greenhouse, but the greenhouse has since been removed, to ensure proper setbacks are achieved. Although there is a risk of fires to spread from one property to the other, there is no life safety issues due to the distance from the dwelling. So on page 24, there's a few photos. There's a photo of the garage in relation to the rear property line. There's a photo indicating the greenhouse has been removed. And so the existing garage received a development permit in 2006, but it was not constructed in the location depicted on the site plan. The garage has been situated 0.42 meters from the rear property line. And the existing shed, which is just over the 100 square foot mark, so it does need a permit, it's located 0.22 meters from the side property line. The shed appears on the property as far back as 2005, when it can be seen on the historical aerial photos. So in order to, again, come obtain a compliance status, they can either remove the structures, move the structures, or they can request a variance. The applicant requested a variance for the shed and the garage. There was some considerations. The proposal meets the criteria listed in the LUB regarding variances, as the neighbor did not feel the shed had a negative impact, having been on the property for 20 years, and so had expressed support for the variance. Fire services did not indicate support for the shed due to its proximity. However, they did mention there is no life safety concerns with the shed. And the transportation department had no concerns with the garage being closer to the alley than the required 1.22 meters. The recommendation from staff found on page 18 was that MPC approve the variance with the conditions as noted. And staff have also prepared an alternate recommendation if MPC chooses to approve only the variance for the garage and not the shed, and the shed just be moved into the appropriate location so it meets the setback. So the first recommendation is found in your package with the 2 variances approved. I have prepared alternate conditions. If you would like me to read them, I can read them to you. If you choose to just approve the shed if it's moved to meet the setback. And you have your standard 3 options, and that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have questions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Commission's wishes.
I'll move the recommendation that Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2022-107 for 2 existing buildings requiring variances, subject to the conditions included in the recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Link. Discussion. Yes.
I'm just wondering, and you probably don't have the answer, but now that the greenhouse is gone, would it be fairly easy to move that shed, or is it going to, if the shed's old enough, it might not stand the move, but if it's a super easy move, it might be the better way to go.
I don't have that answer to that question. We can look at the photos, see if there's any indication from that. So you can see the shed in this photo on page 24, and you can see it slightly on page 25, but I don't know how hard it would be.
I didn't think you would, I just thought I'd ask.
Do we have a risk, do you think, of if somebody was to, if the neighbor to the south was to move and somebody else came, that there would be property issues there? I don't know.
My concern.
So that, a question to administration. So if I'm looking on page 23, the satellite photograph there, and it looks like the shed, probably the wall of the shed is built on property line. The eaves are overhanging the building. The people that on that house that's really close there, they're okay with the shed being there, right, as of right now?
Correct. And if you look at the aerial photo, the lines are overlaid, so it's not entirely accurate. The RPR is more accurate, and it says it's 0.22 meters, so it's not over the line. It does look that way, though.
Okay, thank you.
What's 20 centimeters, like this far away?
So, question from my mind, if we allow this, and if the neighbor's not complaining, I'm trying to let sleeping dogs lie. But if the new place, the neighbors were to sell, what is the process then? If they do an RPR or whatever, does the RPR on their property, does it pick up anything on the neighbor's property? Like, is this going to come back to
Bite us.
Yes.
So the neighbor to the south, if they did an RPR? Or this property?
Yeah, when I'm looking at I'm looking at on page 23, I'm looking down at the satellite. That house has got to be that house is very close to the shed, right? Like, the neighbor's shed is...
It's a
Oh,
garage.
is it a garage? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so, that's back
yeah,
out.
that makes a difference.
Okay, yeah, that makes a difference then. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good with this.
That looks like a house.
Any more discussion? Yes,
Just to confirm though, even with the adjacent owner, with that being a garage that is next to the shed, will that impact the adjacent neighbor's ability to get like a compliance report in the future?
So that garage on the neighbor's property was built in 1910. So it's definitely legal non-conforming, grandfathered, and they did have an RPR before, which identified that it was grandfathered, so.
So if they were to tear down that, just trying to think outside the box here a little bit, so if the neighbors with that older garage were to tear it down and rebuild it for whatever reason, would those variances, because the neighbor's so close to the property line, would they have to be kicked back further?
No, that neighbor to the south would just have to meet the 1.22 meters.
Thank you.
Sorry, what's an RPR?
Sorry, a real property report. So,
property.
yeah, page 24 with that survey of everything.
Right.
That's from the RPR. It's a survey.
Thank you. Sorry. I know exactly. Should have it somewhere. No, it's good. I'm sure I have it.
any more discussion? We have a motion in front of us. I'll call the vote. Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, I deem passed. We'll move on. Thank you. We'll move on to DP 2021-235.
This application is for an industrial medium business, which is a manufacturing facility to produce insulated metal wall panels. On page 32, we have the location plan and the circulation map. It is within the Origin Business Park. We circulated to adjacent landowners within 1 mile. And we did receive one response, which is in your package, and they had concerns about the location. However, it has since been revealed that they were looking at they thought this facility was proposed for a different parcel, which is further east. And so once we clarified which parcel it was on, they rescinded their comments. So they are now okay with the location and the application. On page 33, we have the site plan. Oh, also we did circulate to Rocky View County, and they said, we note the proposed business uses to be located within Wheatland County's Origin Business Park, and the proposal implements policy 3.2.1 of the IDP, which supports growth along the highway, and they recommend consideration for managing the impacts, such as traffic, dust, lighting, and noise and debris, to ensure offsite impacts are appropriately mitigated during the construction, and consideration for neighboring county lands. Alberta Transportation has issued a roadside development permit for the internal peer review. The economic development officer thought the project aligns with our plans to grow and expand our manufacturing base. There were no concerns raised from the transportation department, and a fire inspection will need to be completed once construction is completed. With page 33, we have the site plan, and an aerial photo is on page 34, along with some photos of some of the internal on a plant that they already own. So the proposal is to construct a 45,000 to 600 square foot building for the insulated metal wall panels. The panels will then be stacked and packaged and shipped for resale. No manufacturing activities will occur outside of the building, and outdoor storage will include an underground tank for the storage of pentane. Hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, and it's estimated to employ 10 to 12 people. So some considerations. The proposal is in alignment with the MDP, the WASP, the West Highway 1 Area Structure Plan, and the definition of a medium industrial development. One concern was raised from surrounding landowner, but which has since been rescinded. Proposal is in accordance with the approved stormwater management plan, must be in accordance with the approved stormwater management plan, and a condition was added that a lighting plan be submitted and a landscaping plan with securities. So MPs, our staff are recommending on page 27 that MPC approve this application. There are several conditions. Oops, I've gone too far. The conditions are on page 27, 28, and 29. And we are recommending that MPC approve this use for a medium industrial manufacturing facility subject to the conditions. We've added a condition that it'll need to comply with the approved stormwater management plan, that a lighting plan be submitted, that prior to commencing operation, the landscaping plan should be, it has been submitted and approved, but they must provide securities and develop in according with that plan. We added a condition that a fire inspection be complied with and completed, and also for the off-site levies. So the three standard options are found on page 30, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Commission's wishes. Yes.
I'll
Councilor
move
Morrison.
that the Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2021-235 for medium industrial manufacturing facilities subject to conditions 1 through 14 found in the report.
Thank you very much. Discussions? Yes.
Just in regards to landscaping plan, these are individual industrial lots. Are we expecting all these lots to have a landscaping plan? Or is there a criteria?
Yeah, we have the landscaping and screening guidelines, which kind of delineate between what they're doing. If there's lots of outdoor storage, we will ask for more landscaping. If there's very little, then it's lesser landscaping. So they've submitted their landscaping plan, and we had it reviewed by our staff, and it was found to be appropriate and in line with the landscaping and screening guidelines.
My thought process on this, when you're in the foothills of Calgary or whatever, there's lots of similar design lots. There's very little landscaping done around them because it is an intent of these type of areas to have light industrial, things like that. So as long as it doesn't get carried away, because I could see the whole site when it was originally developed having a landscaping plan to mitigate those concerns to adjacent landowners, but individual lots is really difficult, and I mean those lots are very expensive, so landscaping is frilly in that regard, in my opinion, without prejudice.
So landscaping, that doesn't include, like, they're not having to plant trees and that kind of stuff, are they? This is just more screening kind of like...
Yeah, they do plant trees, and sometimes it's just more of a little bit of a beautification, like a group of trees here, a group of trees there. I mean, prior applications, prior to the screening guidelines, landscaping and screening guidelines being developed, it was kind of all over the map. So it's different for different lots. And then they do have that common all along number 1. There's landscaping been done already. So a lot of those ones that are right adjacent to the highway don't have any landscaping. But yeah, right now we do apply the landscaping and screening guidelines for each lot.
If I might add through the chair, sorry, it's not really a substantial undertaking. There's no significant requirements for a high level of beautification for an industrial park. It's best practice for an industrial park to have some sort of landscaping feature, because I think that most of us have seen industrial parks that don't. You have wreckage yards that kind of organically grow over time, maybe go over a lot line. You have sea cans that might not look appealing if you're driving by. So the intent of Origins Business Park and also the intent of the area structure plan is to have some sort of order that makes it look appealing for investment. And we're actually seeing that now. I think the focus is on obviously looking at Origins and the amount of investment that we're seeing in the park and interest we're seeing in the park. And one could deduce that, you know, it does look quite appealing to invest in. So, but the landscaping requirements are not overly arduous or demanding on anyone, and that's not the intent of having that, right?
Thank you. Good discussion. Is there any more discussion? Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the answer, because my thoughts are, say someone had a need for a crane in a yard or something like that, and we're putting trees up, it's going to really limit their acreage space that they can work in, and that would just be redundant, things like that. So as long as we're taking all that in consideration, I'm happy. Thanks.
There's also one other consideration in this day and age, are trees and their carbon footprint or the mitigating impact. We got a crane, hopefully it reaches above the tree. I know they can't drive over them, but there's that aspect too. There's curb appeal, and if a developer comes in and is overly conscious about his carbon footprint, we can say, well, we do have trees in the park. Might be limited, but it is a slight answer.
Thank you. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is passed. I believe that's the end of Municipal Planning Commission. So I adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.